Now we shall discuss sensitizing teaching fraternity towards differently abled learners. Inability to perform any one of the core academic skills like reading, writing or mathematics easily in the classroom does not associate it with a lack of intelligence of the learner. For example, students who are blind or deaf, without hands or with learning disability can learn by different learning methods. It is essential to understand that learning is independent of any single academic skill. Children with learning disabilities acquire a broad range of understanding about the world around them prior to going to school. They are quite capable of learning when they can assimilate knowledge from the broader experience of life. Thus, the problem is not with the learner, it is with the teaching methods used in traditional classroom across the country. Let us examine that concept just a bit more closely. Students who are blind are not expected to read traditional words on a page, but are effectively taught through things they hear and do. Similarly, students who are deaf are not expected to learn through lecture, but are effectively taught through things they read, see and do. Similarly, students who are physically impaired are not expected to express what they know through words written on a page, but can effectively express themselves through augmented speech tools, oral expression and other avenues. Similarly, students who have learning disabilities should not be expected to learn through methods that are in direct opposition to their learning challenges, but often teachers expect a child with dyslexia to learn from reading, a child with attention deficits or auditory processing disorder to learn through lecture, and children with dysgraphia to express themselves through writing. Doing so shows a lack of understanding about learning disabilities and renders the teacher ineffective in working with these students. How to sensitize these fraternity towards differently abled learner? In order to effectively teach differently abled learners, the teacher must understand their learning challenges in order to teach them the needed skill or content. Learning problems become evident when teaching is not effective. That is not to say that teacher is bad teacher. More likely the teacher is not using different teaching method as per the need of differently abled learners. Teachers need to have following strategy to strengthen the qualities of teaching learning process, particularly for differently abled learners. Number 1, sensitivity towards learner. Number 2, identification of needs of differently abled learners. A holistic approach to curriculum and group interaction, classroom management and barrier free environment. We shall discuss these strategies in detail. The first strategy in sensitizing teaching fraternity towards differently abled learner is sensitivity towards learners. The sensitivity towards the need for differently abled learner is an important skill to understand the child and develop significant social relationship between learners, particularly for children with disabilities and their parents. The teacher should have the right attitude, but also needs good understanding of how and to develop these interaction and relationships. Teachers' understanding of the child can enable them to develop effective teaching learning process besides mobilizing necessary resources for developing equitable learning opportunities. Now, the second strategy is identification of needs of differently abled learners. According to the levels of abilities and residential capacities, the curriculum has to be modified and adapted. For example, in case of visually impaired who have very low vision, the study material should be presented in large prints, while in case of totally blind, the textbooks are to be adopted in braille system. Whereas, in case of learning disabled children, the curriculum has to be divided into a small and sequenced set of activities. Now, the third strategy in sensitizing teaching fraternity towards differently abled learner is holistic approach to curriculum. The curriculum has to be very specific in case of differently abled learner according to their specific needs of development and adjustment. The curriculum has to be revised that the children who suffered from disability may not have feeling of neglect of self-derogations. The next strategy in sensitizing teaching fraternity towards differently abled learner is curriculum and group interaction. A school curriculum is not restricted to teach contents only. The curriculum should provide ample opportunity for group interaction and participation. It is observed that some teachers ask the disabled student to just observe what is happening in the group and not to participate. Sometimes some teacher make a remark like this student cannot do. These develop a sense of negative self in the student. Therefore, all students should be integrated to participate and interact with each other without discrimination. The next strategy is classroom management. The management of the classroom involves the identification of appropriate places for sitting the disabled children. The arrangement of lighting system, ensuring adequate visibility of directions, locating apparatus and equipment at a proper place, etc. The disabled children should be given a seat where they can feel comfortable in seeing written material on the board. The other students of the class should also be made aware of the various disabilities so that they could interact with the students with disabilities in a normal manner. Now, the last strategy is sensitizing teacher fraternity toward differently abled learner is barrier-free environment. The barrier-free environment is one which enables students with disabilities to move about safely and freely and use all facilities within the built environment, road, park, garden and other places. The school and classroom should be free from physical and social barriers as far as possible. Social, psychological and physical barriers come in the way of persons with disabilities and prevent them from participating in various activities. In this way, we have discussed different strategies in sensitizing teaching fraternity toward differently abled learners. Thank you very much.